SiteKrafter Divi 5 framework has a brand new update, and I'm sure you're going to love this because in this update, we're going to be able to design our layouts using CSS Grid. Let's dive in and let me show you. So here you can see we have this grid here, right here. So when I scroll down, we also have another version here. And then finally, we have what is known as a Bento grid. So I'm going to be recreating this using SiteKrafter. Now, by the way, if you haven't purchased SiteKrafter yet, the link to that is in the video description below. It has a lifetime guarantee, and also the price might be changing very, very soon to a yearly subscription. So go ahead and grab your copy because there's going to be a lot of features in this, and it's going to make the designing of websites with Divi 5 very, very easy. So each time you install the framework, you're going to have all these tools ready for you. Anyway, let's dive in and let's recreate this. All right, so we're going to start off with creating a brand new layout. So let's head over here and add a new regular section. And I'm just going to drag this section all the way to the top like that. Okay, so the first feature is we now have background colors, and these are all neutral colors in a scale of 100 to 900. So to activate it, we can just come over here and then we're going to say advanced, and then we're going to come over here to CSS ID and classes. And then for the class, it's called BG dash gray dash, let's say 600. So now you have your scale of 600, but if you want to change that to whatever color for your backgrounds, you can go to 800, you can go to 500. I mean, it's pretty much up to you. I mean, how you want to use this. All right, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and add our single column. So I'm going to go ahead and add my single column. Now, this CSS grid works with pretty much any module. That's the beauty of this. So let's say you want to start with a blurb. We can go in and place our blurb in here. But as you can see here, we can't really read the text here. So let's work on the background. And as I'm doing this, you're also going to be able to see the updates that I've done to this. So let's head over to advanced. And then we're going to come over here to CSS ID and classes. And then we're going to say BG, like how we did before, dash gray. And then we're going to say maybe, let's say 500. Okay, so that's our background. Now we also want to give this a bit of a border around it. So we're going to say padding, and let's go with medium. Okay, padding medium. And we're also going to add a radius. So we're going to say R, and the radius is going to be medium as well. So now you can see we have our rounded corners there, and we have our padding. But so far you can't really see the padding in action because this module here is taking up the whole space. So we're going to change that in a minute. So the next step now is to start adding our code for our grid. So we're going to come over here to our row settings. Now to activate our grid, you need to head over to this column right here. So I'm going to click on that, and then we're going to go straight to our advanced CSS ID and classes. Okay, so this is where you need to say grid like that. Oops, grid. And then you're going to say grid dash auto. So the first example I'm going to show you is an auto grid. So whatever you add into this grid is going to automatically adjust and pretty much fit in place. So here's what you do. So we're going to start duplicating this a few times. Boom. You see that? It is now fitting in that whole container. If I do that again, you can see now I have another one, and we can just continue on, and this is going to keep on adding. So we have equal columns and we have equal items in here. So this is very, very important if you want a quick grid, and this is happening automatically. You don't have to go in and customize so many things. So if you're sure that you have things that you want to go in and make sure they are aligned and they're all pretty much the same size, this is the best way to do it. So let's say you want to add one of these as a text item. You can just delete this one here. Let's add a text module. So I'm going to search for text just to show you that you can use this with pretty much anything. So here's our text module. And by the way, you can move these around if you want to, but I'm just going to work on it right here. Okay, so now that I have that, I can now add a background color to this. I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to go to CSS ID and classes, and I'm going to say BG, like how I did before, dash gray. And for this one here, let's add perhaps 700. Okay, there we go. We're also going to add a padding of medium like that. And then we're also going to have a radius of, let's say medium as well. Okay, so padding, medium, radius, medium. Look at that. So with the text now, we can always go in here and change our body text color. Okay. So now that we have all our items, you can see that this fits in perfectly into our auto grid. So the way this one works here is it just, adds all your modules. They're all the same size. There's no messing around, straight to the point. Okay, great. So now let's move on to our next type of grid, because with this one here, we can't really do much. However, we can also do a few things here. And let's say perhaps you want this grid right here to span 2 spaces. Here's what you need to do. You can come over here into this item, which is the text module, and then we can go to advanced. So in here now on the class, we can say column span. So COL dash span. And then you can specify how many spaces you want it to take. So if it's 2, you can just add a 2 there and boom, just like that, you now have a layout that is unique. And it's really, really easy to do. Right. So let's take a look and see what happens if we go to our tablet view. Look at that. So you can see there it is mobile responsive. It just takes on the space that is available. And we can also do this on the mobile as well. Okay. So perhaps maybe you want something with a bit more control. So what you can do now is we are going to change, let's remove the column span here like that. So it's taking the same space. So if you want to add the span onto this one here, you can just come over here, advanced, CSS ID and classes, and you can add the column span over here. And look at that, already we have a unique design. So let's say you want this one here to take 4 spaces. You can just come over here, go to advanced, CSS ID and classes, and then this one here is going to be span. Even look at that, this one even looks really cool. But anyway, let's say this one here needs to go 4, and boom, it takes up the whole space. You see that? And if we say 3, it then takes up 3. And this could be perhaps maybe, let's say, an opt-in form. It could be a countdown timer. It could be pretty much anything. It could be a WooCommerce product with all this other information around it. So we are now able to design flexible layouts using Grid. Okay, so let's say you want something a bit more specific, because this is auto grid. You can go in here and you can pretty much add whatever you want in the grid, and it just adds in and makes sure everything are the same size. Okay, so let's say you want to do something different and you want to specify the size of your grid. Okay, so this is where now we are going to go back in here. We go to, in fact, let's delete some of this by just going in here. So we don't really have to start from scratch. Anyway, right, so we're going to come back in here. So this time, instead of saying grid auto, we are now going to change this to grid, and then we're going to say columns, okay? And then now we are going to specify how many columns we need. So for example, if I say 2, it just gives me 2 and that's it. No matter what I do, it's just gonna remain 2. And of course, this is pretty much how it looks like, okay? Let's say I want 3. Now it gives me 3. If I say 4, it gives me 4, and there's nothing else I can do to that. It just gives me 4 and that's it. And we also have our breakpoints for our CSS. But now, let's say while we have these 4, what else can we do? Well, we can still use our column span. So let's say I duplicate this. Now you see we have 4. So the 5th one now goes below. So let's say I want to span this. I can come over here. I can go to advanced, ID and classes. And for this particular one, I can span it twice. or 4. And then now it takes up the bottom space. But this remains with the specific columns, because here I've specified that I want to have 4 columns. So if I come back over here and I go back into this column, advanced, CSS ID and classes, I can always change it here. If I want 6, I can do that, but of course that's going to look ugly. If I want 3, I can do that. And it just rearranges itself. So with this one here, it's more definite in terms of how you want it to look. Okay, so let's move on to the next one now. And this one here is my favorite. It's the Bento grid. I'm sure you've heard of the Bento grid. So this one here is a bit more fun to work with. So with this, we can go in and delete. Let's get rid of column 3. Okay, so we can leave it at grid or even grid auto, right? If you want to. But now, when I come in here, I can decide now how my Bento grid is going to look. Okay, so in fact, let's say I want this to take 2 spaces. I can just go in here, and in this item here specifically, in fact, let's go with this one here. So in this item, I can say I want to span this, and this is going to be Bento, let's say Bento wide. Bento wide. Do you see that? This now has gone wide because I've just told it to go wide. Okay, so let's say we want this one here to be tall. So we can go in, click on this gear icon, advanced, ID and classes. And this one here is going to be Bento tall. Do you see that? Now, this has taken on a totally unique look to my design. So this is very fun to work with. And as you can see, you can go in and specify what layouts you want. And these are mobile friendly. And as soon as you go in and you start adjusting the width of the screen, it just rearranges itself and pretty much it's good to go. You don't have to waste a lot of time going in and setting up all your breakpoints because everything is automatic. So what does this mean for the future of SiteKrafter? Well, there's a lot that I'm working on behind the scenes. And the first thing is I really want this to then turn into a dark mode theme as well, built in. So when you're designing your website from scratch, this is going to have dark mode inbuilt. Okay, so every single website you're going to be building using SiteKrafter is going to have the dark mode. Next, we're also going to have lazy load. It's something that I'm thinking of adding as well, because lazy load is very important for our images, and also quite a lot of accessibility things to help our websites become accessible. Finally, I am going to be doing a lot of extensive documentation to make sure that it is very easy for everyone to use. And I know right now I'm supposed to be at a position where all the documentation is properly laid out, but it's going to be extensive. It's going to have short videos to show you how each and every part of SiteKrafter actually works. So please bear with me. And also, I'm keeping an eye on Divi 5. They're going to be adding CSS classes, and they're also going to be adding variables. So I want to see how I can incorporate all that into SiteKrafter, making our design workflow much, much easier. If you haven't purchased SiteKrafter yet, this is the time to purchase it because it is on a lifetime membership. And this lifetime membership is special because I'm giving you access to pretty much everything. Future courses, future starter sites, basically all the tools I'm going to release in the future are going to be covered by your single purchase of SiteKrafter. Now, once the deal goes off, SiteKrafter now will be just purchased as a single item, and this will be a yearly subscription. So this is really the right time to purchase it. So do so by going to the link provided in the video description below. So the question now is, when is this available? Now I'm doing some fine touches to this, so I would say perhaps maybe Thursday or Friday this will be available for download. Anyway guys, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and very soon I'll be sending out an email with the final release of SiteKrafter version 6.04. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.